Welcome back. In a land where the echoes of prophecy blend with the whispers of the wind, Israel stands as a testament to miracles and challenges overcome. This is a place unlike any other, where the stories of the Bible unfold beneath your feet and the spirit of the patriarchs lingers in the air. Imagine walking the ancient roads once traveled by prophets, exploring the ruins of King David's citadel and experiencing the Bible not just as a sacred text, but as a living history that envelops you with every step. Israel's narrative is woven from more than just its past. It's a vibrant tapestry of courage and faith embodied by its people. Meet the modern-day guardians of this holy land, from the valiant soldiers who've left their homes to defend Israel, to the widows and orphans who've paid the ultimate price. This trip will be more than just a tour. It's an expedition of the soul, offering unique opportunities to volunteer, to celebrate, and to stand in solidarity with the people of Israel. Join us on an extraordinary 9-day voyage through Israel, where you'll not only walk in the footsteps of history, but you will stand on the front lines of faith and freedom. Witness the resilient response to adversity along the Gaza and Lebanese borders, and understand the true strength of the modern state of Israel. What could be more moving than celebrating Israel's Memorial Day and Independence Day in the Holy Land? You will stand shoulder to shoulder with Jews and Christians from across the globe in a powerful demonstration of unity and hope. Carefully crafted by Israel 365 and Jerusalem Tours, this biblically inspired, authentic journey promises to deepen your faith, broaden your understanding, and leave an indelible mark on your heart. The magic of Israel awaits to transform you. Visit tourtheland.com for more information and to register for this life-changing journey. Tomorrow evening, Monday after sundown, will mark the start of the Passover festival. Jews worldwide will gather around their tables for the Seder, to retell the story of the Exodus and to celebrate with a lengthy evening of rituals. In temple times, we would be gathering to eat the Passover offering, a lamb roasted over a fire, as described in the Bible. The Bible also commands certain other foods to be eaten along with the Passover offering. As we read in Exodus 12, they shall eat the meat on that night, roasted over the fire, along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, they shall eat it. Unleavened bread, bread made without yeast, is not only a requirement for the eating of the Passover offering that night. Many biblical verses point to unleavened bread as a central theme of the Exodus story. For example, just after the lengthy description of the Passover offering, unleavened bread takes center stage. Quote, "For 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread. On the first day, eliminate yeast from your houses. For whoever eats leaven from the first day through the 7th shall be cut off from Israel." And then 2 verses later, "Observe the festival of unleavened bread, because it was on this very day that I brought your ranks out of Egypt. Observe this day as a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. In the first month you are to eat unleavened bread from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day. For 7 days no yeast is to be found in your houses, and whoever eats leaven shall be cut off from the community of Israel, whether foreigner or native born. Eat no leaven. In all your dwellings you must eat unleavened bread." The slaughter and eating of the Passover was a one-day event. The prohibition against leaven and yeast lasts for 7 full days. And not only is the eating of any yeast product forbidden, it's a sin that is so severe that it's grounds for being cut off from the community of Israel. Why is refraining from leavened bread so important? And we should also note that the 7-day festival commemorating the Exodus, which we call Passover, is called in these verses and others the Festival of Unleavened Bread. And it's not only referred to that way here in Exodus 12, but throughout the Bible in many other places. Now, it's certainly understandable that the exodus from Egypt is cause for a week-long festival for rejoicing. But why is it named after unleavened bread, the festival of unleavened bread? Wouldn't it have made more sense to call this festival the festival of the Exodus, or some other name that expresses the historic importance of the emancipation from slavery in Egypt and the birth of Israel as a nation? What's so important about unleavened bread? And what does it have to do with the Exodus? Why was unleavened bread a requirement for the eating of the Passover offering? When describing the actual departure of Israel from Egypt, the Bible connects unleavened bread with one specific aspect of the Exodus itself. Quote, "And they baked the dough they brought out of Egypt into loaves of unleavened bread. It was unleavened because they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor could they prepare provisions for themselves." And then in Deuteronomy we read, "Do not eat the Passover with leaven. For 7 days eat unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, because you left Egypt in a hurry, so that you remember the time of your exodus from Egypt all the days of your life." According to these verses, the importance of unleavened bread is that it reminds us of the haste, the hurry with which the children of Israel left Egypt. They didn't have time to make leavened bread because they were rushing to leave. But there's a problem with this explanation. As we mentioned earlier, one of the requirements of the Passover offering was that it had to be eaten together with unleavened bread. The instructions for the Passover offering were told to Moses 2 weeks before the day of the Exodus. The Passover offering was slaughtered on the afternoon of the 14th of the month and was eaten that evening. The next morning, Israel left Egypt. If the reason for the importance of unleavened bread is that they rushed out of Egypt that morning without time for their dough to rise, why was unleavened bread a requirement for the Passover offering eaten the night before and prepared earlier? We can understand the answer to this when we consider another detail of the instructions for the Passover offering. Quote, "This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is the Passover of the Lord." God commanded Israel to eat the Passover offering with their coats tucked in, their sandals on their feet, their walking stick, their staff in their hand, and to eat it in a rush, in haste. Now imagine someone standing in their kitchen, eating quickly with their coat on, holding their car keys in their other hand. What you know is that this person is about to leave. They're on their way out the door. In other words, God wanted Israel to understand that their departure from Egypt began when they ate the Passover offering, even before they actually left. From the moment they ate the Passover, they were already gone. This is a powerful lesson for all people of faith. The Lord's Passover, God's choosing of each and every person who is devoted to Him, depends on the attitude that we have towards our journey with God. If we show God that we're in a rush, we're eager to follow Him, we're already redeemed even before the journey has begun. It's fitting that this eagerness to follow God is represented by unleavened bread. The main difference between leavened and unleavened bread is that leavened bread is puffed up with air. It's literally made larger than its basic substance because of the hot air of the leavening process. In other words, unleavened bread is simple bread. It's not difficult to see why, in Jewish tradition, unleavened bread symbolizes humility and simplicity, while leavened bread symbolizes arrogance. By commanding Israel to eat only unleavened bread to commemorate the Exodus, God was teaching us a very important lesson. To be a part of God's people, to truly follow Him, we must come to the relationship with Him with the characteristics of unleavened bread, a combination of eagerness and humility. The 7-day festival commemorating the birth of Israel as a nation, God's chosen people, is named for the unleavened bread precisely because the characteristics of unleavened bread are the perfect description of the attitude that we all must have in a relationship of service to Him. It's interesting in light of this that the many grain offerings in the temple, which were cooked offerings made of flour, were also only to be unleavened. As we read in Leviticus chapter 2, every grain offering you bring to the Lord must be made unleavened, for any yeast or any honey must not be burned as an offering to the Lord. With our understanding of the symbolism of unleavened bread, this prohibition against offering leavened bread before the Lord in the temple makes perfect sense. Unleavened bread represents humility, simplicity, and eagerness to serve God. Passover recalls and commemorates the Exodus from Egypt. But that does not mean that we're merely celebrating freedom from slavery. The unleavened bread teaches us that the true purpose of emancipation from human bondage is not our own personal freedom to live as we please. The purpose of freedom is that only when we are free of human masters are we able to fully devote ourselves to eager and humble obedience to God. This is the message of the unleavened bread. This is the message of Passover. If you found this teaching insightful and inspirational, please purchase a copy of Verses for Zion, my most recent book of biblical teachings. 77 devotional style teachings where I take verses in the Bible, go into the original Hebrew, and pull out inspirational insights from that verse. You can get the book Verses for Zion at getvfz.com. So go to getvfz.com, get your copy of Verses for Zion today. Thank you for watching Eyes on Israel, and have a happy and meaningful Passover.